That is your key to transforming this entire planet. All right, remember, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.
Universal health care, raising the minimum wage. If you want clean water, clean air, clean food, keep going. If you are a doer of the deed, I want you to stand up to your feet right now. We have courage enough, conviction enough, people power enough to stand up and do what is right for ourselves. I am unbought and unbought.
Hello and welcome to the show, Unbossed. We are so glad that you are here. I am Nina Turner, and in the co-host chair, we have the one and only Jackson White. Jackson, how you doing? Rebel HQ contributor, how are you doing on this fine day?
I'm doing well. I'm doing really good. I'm really looking forward to the presidential election kicking off. More and more people are coming out, starting to make their comments, and we're going to talk a little bit about that today. But just in general, I'm absolutely looking forward to the presidential election, just because it's going to be filled with opportunities for progressives to just make stuff happen. You know what I'm saying? So let's do it.
Yeah, let's take advantage of those opportunities. Never let a good crisis go to waste, Jackson. And we seeing some crisis climaxing right now, well before the 2024 even gets here. But here we are. Jackson and I will be continuing our conversation and our coverage. Unbossed will continue its coverage about the train derailment and talk about areas of Pennsylvania that have been impacted by this, as well as East Palestine, Ohio. Then Trump and Nikki Haley go at it, sort of, kind of. He challenged to a duel of sorts. We will talk about that. And later in the show, Hannity hops on board with Marjorie Taylor Greene's Civil War cause. I'm just gonna warn you, viewer warning, I will be sighing a lot today and probably have the fire extinguisher out several times before this show is over. But let's start in the great state of Ohio, East Palestine, and also we're gonna throw in a little Pennsylvania into that too. We're gonna talk about those areas and how they have been impacted. The people of East Palestine and Western Pennsylvania continue to suffer. Mothers, fathers, and children of these areas are feeling the impact. Listen to what one East Palestine, Ohio resident said.
About 24 hours after we came home, my 1-year-old got very, very hoarse. I ended up scheduling a pediatrician appointment. They're breaking out with rashes. I'm taking him to the doctors. They're telling me, well, they have eczema and they have croup, because we can't diagnose them with chemical burns. We can't diagnose them with chemical burns of the lungs because almost after 3 weeks, they're still waiting on guidance from the Ohio Department of Health. how long is it going to take? Are one of my children going to have to drop dead before they get guidance?
Candace DeSanzo is absolutely right. That question is very profound, what she just asked. And thanks to Stannis Koo for this coverage. What is necessary? Is one of my children gonna have to drop dead for them to be able to diagnose? She is right on the money. And I can guarantee you from my visit there yesterday and all the other reporting that is coming out from various news outlets, particular shout out to independent media, a lot of other parents and residents of East Palestine, they're asking the same questions. She continued on and said something even more horrifying.
I mean, I'm showering in the water, and every time I get a shower for 2 hours, it's like my body is on fire. Why have I never experienced that for the 44 years that I've lived in East Palestine up until this happened? And they're saying it's safe, but if it's safe, it is not a coincidence that, all of these residents are having the same symptoms, the same things happening to them, and they want us to believe that.
She is absolutely right. This is not a coincidence. And the they she is referring to is government, Norfolk Sutherland, and state and federal level government. It is absolutely ridiculous. And when I was there too, like there was something different about that air. I even felt a little tickle in my throat, and I was not there even for that long of a time. Imagine the fact that these residents have to live through this, and now we're 19, approaching 20 days in, and they still don't have the answers that they need, nor do they have the medical attention that they need. Crystal Ball brought up a remedy on her Twitter that I want us to explore, and certainly all the elected officials that claim to care about the residents of East Palestine and what may be impacting our sisters and brothers and family and friends in Western Pennsylvania should take this into consideration. A provision in Obamacare allows residents in areas deemed a public health disaster to be covered by Medicare for life. At the very least, East Palestine residents deserve this universal coverage after being exposed to a known carcinogen. And I totally agree with Crystal Ball on that. And the same designation may be necessary for the folks of Western Pennsylvania. Jackson, your thoughts on what is happening there thus far and what Candace had to say about what her and her family are enduring in this moment?
Well, first and foremost, we live in the United States, the wealthiest country, the wealthiest nation in the history of civilization, and things like this are just flat out unacceptable. This goes to show beyond anything else the importance of a well-equipped and well-regulated government, because this is what government is supposed to do. It's supposed to keep these types of things from happening. Obviously there's a little bit too much of anything is bad. But to take opportunities like this to just be like, what was Republicans on some outlets were saying like, Biden doesn't like white people or the woke left doesn't like white people. And then you continue to see arguments about like, what the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau that gave $13 billion back to people. We can't have that. That's too much government oversight. But those are the things that government are supposed to do. Keep people from getting screwed over from giant institutions, and to keep factories and any type of commodities, institutions, whatever, from poisoning people. That's really the bare minimum. So this first and foremost is an opportunity for accountability across the board. If there was never a wake up call, then this is definitely it.
This is it, Jackson, and we've been having several of these. So it's East Palestine, it's Western Pennsylvania, it's Flint, Michigan, it's Jackson, Mississippi, you name it. These types of crises have been cropping up in this country for far too long. And when something of this magnitude happens, it really is a call for all levels of government to be engaged to help people's short-term needs, to address their short-term needs, and then to look into the future. And Jackson, your point about this is what government is supposed to do just reminded me, you know what? Let's just go ahead and remind folks about what the United States Constitution, the preamble says, because that answers what you just said, Jackson, about this is government's job to step in here because of the magnitude of this and because of the rail company that is culpable for this The federal government in particular has the biggest stick on this. But this is the preamble. We the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility. Now that's bolded, underlined, and underscore. Establish, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare. Okay, so let's stick with the general welfare and ensure tranquility. That's it. Now I can go on, but those are the major points. And that is what should be happening right now for the residents of East Palestine and also the folks in Western Pennsylvania and anybody else that is impacted on this type of magnitude. But that is not happening. So for all the Republicans and Democrats, but I'm looking at you side-eyeing you Republicans because you're using this event in a very nefarious way. If you truly care about these residents the way that you claim that you care about these residents, then you better be all about what Crystal just made us aware of, that there's a provision in Obamacare and whatever designation needs to happen so that these people can get lifetime Medicare benefits, then let's have at it. Let's do it. JD Vance, I'm looking at you, bruh. Dude, because I can't call you bruh. Dude, I'm looking at you because you was up in East Palestine with President Trump today. I'm looking at you because you've been talking a whole lot of smack, and all the other Fox hosts talking a whole bunch of smack. So let's get up on this provision in Obamacare. Let's see how much you really do care for these residents who have been impacted. But meanwhile, so all of this is going on. Meanwhile, the Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, who should have been on top of this from day one, 18 minutes instead of 18 days, he was questioned about his handling of all this, not in a controlled environment. Take a look at this.
What do you have to say to the folks in Ohio, East Palestine, who are suffering right now?
Well, I'd refer you to about a dozen interviews I've given today, and if you'd like to arrange a conversation, make sure to reach out to our press office, but I'm not gonna have that conversation with you. Just walk
You don't
down the
have a
street
message
here.
for them?
I do, and I shared it with the press many times today. I'd refer you to those comments.
Are you going down there?
What's that?
Are you going down there at all?
Yeah, I am.
When are you going?
I'll share that when I'm ready.
Okay,
I'll talk
thank
down the
you.
street. Can I get a photo of you?
Yeah.
Just in case you didn't hear what Secretary Mayor Pete Buttigieg asked this reporter, he asked her, could he get her picture? That is definitely out of order. A bureaucrat or an elected official should not ask a reporter that in that way. That is pretty threatening. Now, look, I'm no fan of the Daily Caller whatsoever, not at all. But this has nothing to do with whether or not I am a fan or he is a fan. He probably ain't a fan of the Daily Caller, and hell, I don't blame him. But this is a reporter, Jeannie Taylor, asking him about his response to the crisis. And that is what reporters do. And quite frankly, when you are in the public limelight as either a bureaucrat or a currently elected official, you got to answer to the public. And look, she was very respectful. He might not have liked the questions. It may have been an inopportune time, but I've seen reporters be much like rude. And this reporter was not rude. She just simply said, hey, you going down there? When you going down there? Him having an excuse about he on private time. No, you don't have private time. And especially when something like this is happening, he knows good and daggone well the reporter's gonna be lurking. Like my 3-year-old knows that. My 3-year-old grandson, he knows that. Okay, because he is extraordinarily brilliant. And this grown A man who knows that this is happening and that it is in the national limelight for good reason is acting like he's surprised that a reporter asked him some questions. And I've seen people be ambushed. This wasn't even an ambush. She just simply asked when, I'll let you know when, and I didn't answer this. She said, are you gonna answer this for our outlet? That was a fair question. Again, he might not have liked it. It may have been an inopportune time for him. I will give him that much. But baby, you're on. Jackson, the man acting like he don't know his own. He was so pompous about the whole thing too.
Well, I mean, he was acting like a man who don't be doing nothing all day at the job. You know what I'm saying? Like he don't really, like he just kind of there and his staff kind of handles whatever those matters are, according to protocol, according to whatever the manual says. But at the end of the day, Buttigieg got that job for helping Joe Biden cross the finish line. So It's not like he's like always been ambitious to do that. It's just an opportunity that he got. And he absolutely has future presidential ambitions. So he's going to have to think about these types of things better, because I won't say that someone like Pete Buttigieg can't become president in America. But if he wants to, especially moving forward, he's going to have to definitely think about these kinds of things better. But then again, he's just kind of a corporate career politician. So this is what we should expect. Yeah.
This kind of reminded me, but he was a little more respectful to Jenny than he was. But there was a moment in 2020 where the African-American community, some in the African-American community in South Bend were unhappy. And he was at a public event, it seemed like a rally or something. And he was asked by an African-American woman, what, I'm not happy with you, I'm not voting for you. She was just really upset. And she said to him, I'm not voting for you. And I'm paraphrasing all of this, but people can look it up and get the exact, I'm not voting for you. And instead of him saying, ma'am, I'm sorry to hear that, maybe we can have a sidebar after this. Again, I get it. As a public official, if somebody has been elected to office, I get it. Sometimes people can take you there. Trust me, I get it. So I'm not saying this as somebody who has not experienced some of these scenarios. But she said, look, hey, I ain't voting for you. And instead of him saying, ma'am, let's talk about it. I understand, I hear you, maybe we can get a pull aside afterwards. I would love to hear your concerns. This dude says to her, I ain't asking for you to vote for me. That's what he said to this woman. Now, he might have felt that, he might have been thinking that in his head, but you don't say that, and especially with the type of reputation that this dude had among many in the Black community in that city. It wasn't good. It was not good at all, but that was his privilege speaking. I ain't asking you to vote for me. I mean, that seemed like, you want to take this to the streets. It is totally inappropriate. So he's continuing this behavior. So his gall and audacity for Mayor Pete to act in that manner, it just doesn't make sense. It is totally unacceptable for a public official, and not to mention that he should have been on the ground for day one. See, sisters and brothers, family, friends, if the dude had been on the ground from day one, or at least not day 18, he ain't even on the ground, but talking about going there 18 days later, then they would have to find something else to ask him. But since he made it very easy for them to ask him, hey, where you been? He made this easy for them by having a cavalier attitude about the suffering and the pain of the people in these communities, whether it's Pennsylvania or Ohio. He too haughty about it. He too cool, calm, and collected about other people suffering, and that indeed is the problem. Look, that reporter could have been rougher, she wasn't.
Oh yeah.
But he couldn't handle that. So he definitely ain't gonna be able to handle. And you're right, Jackson, this was payback for dropping out of the race. We have said this on Unbossed ad nauseum. These are the facts. Some neoliberals might not like it. And guess what? Yeah, absolutely, he is angling to run again. There's no doubt about it, but woo, this stuff is gonna come back up when he does jump in. 100%. And on top of it all, though, Jackson, what really got me is he has to take her picture, and that is inappropriate and is dangerous.
It was it was intimidating too. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Just the position he's in, because if you're in any position like that, then you have the ability to mess up people's lives rather easily.
That's exactly right.
You just feel like it.
That's it.
But I think that whether it's East Palestine or any situation like this, for the position that Pete's in, this is literally what his job is. He's supposed to be on it. He's supposed to be very loud and vocal about it. And so again, it's interesting for people who want to run for president. It's like, you're just really not going about this the right way at all. So
no, and he couldn't handle the pressure here. You couldn't handle Jenny from the Daily Caller. You think you're gonna be able to handle the pressures of job? Hell, he can't even handle the pressures of being the transportation secretary, because clearly he is in over his head. But it does seem like the public pressure is getting to him in other ways. Put up this headline: Buttigieg pressured into promising to do his job finally. And again, all shout outs go to the lever for really getting this roller coaster ride started in terms of accountability and pounding and pounding and pounding. And I will also give credit to other independent media outlets. Unbossed is one, TYT is one, just really putting it out there. But the lever continued. After pretending to be powerless, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg is now taking talking tough and promising new railroad safety rules. Now, talking tough. We're gonna see if he's gonna follow through with any of this, because it took him long enough to get to this position, and too long. He was dragging his feet on this, knowing that some of what has happened in these respective communities will have lifelong implications. The man was just too cavalier. He had a callous indifference to their suffering. He really did. And because of this, well, I'm gonna put that in the parking lot. Jackson, we all know, everybody knows that former President Donald J. Trump made his presence known in East Palestine, Ohio today. Take a look at this. So he's getting out of the car and all of that kind of stuff. You see the president. Now, basically he coming home. And you might ask me, why am I saying that? I'm saying that because he won over 70% of the vote, or he getting on his plane, rather, I should say, to get there. He won over 70% of the vote in East Palestine. So when he gets there, hey, he coming home, he going home. That is really what he is doing. He's boarding his plane. And his son, Lil Donnie Jr., spoke about his dad's trip. Take a look.
What's going on, guys? I guess since Pete Buttigieg, Joe Biden, the Democrat Party, and basically most of Washington, D.C. refuses to do their actual job, someone's got to step up and actually fill that void. So we are now boarded Trump Force One, waiting for the big guy, not the 10% big guy, just my big guy. We're going to be heading over there, speaking to the people, hopefully force the people in government to finally act, because if our leaders refuse to step up, someone's got to step up and actually fill that void and lead. So I'm glad my father's that guy. It's going to be exciting. Looking forward to seeing what's going on, and again, looking forward just to being part of, forcing people into action.
Now, you know what? There is really nothing exciting about this, little Donnie. But Jackson, when y'all put Jackson up next to me, when things start to happen, what Don Jr. just said is going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy, because the Democratic Party failed to act with a sense of urgency to deal with these people suffering. And so now President Donald J. Trump gets to fly on in there, Trump Force One, as his son said, and pretend like he's the hero and the savior. But meanwhile, back in his White House, he helped crush, the regulations. But he ain't gonna tell them people none of that. He's just gonna go in there and tell them that the Democrats are failing you. They hate you. He's gonna use race, because that's what they use, and these white supremacist types are using this. And what Don Jr. is saying is gonna come true because the Democrats gave him an opening.
Well, like we were talking about before the show started, one of the most important things you pointed out about Donald Trump is how rather spectacular of a showman he is. Yeah. And because he really, not just like he doesn't really feel shame about anything, but he has the least to lose out of everybody in the field going into this race. And I think that I think a lot of people are just underestimating him, at least especially within the Republican primary, because from what I've seen thus far, it's really looking like Republicans are going to kiss his behind and hand him the nomination. And I say that because Nikki Haley announced her campaign. One, she's a woman in the Republican Party, so that's already going to kill it. But even outside of that, she made sure to mention on Sean Hannity that she's not going to kick sideways. She's only going to focus on Joe Biden in the White House, but she hasn't won the nomination yet, so that doesn't make any sense. Ron DeSantis has yet to run a presidential campaign whatsoever, so he has to really come out hard swinging. But Ron DeSantis's campaign, or rather career, is still rather fresh. He's still young. He has much more to lose than Donald Trump. Donald Trump really made his career in a lot of ways. And then Mike Pence was just on CNBC for 5.5 minutes giving an interview saying, we need to cut Social Security and Medicare. And as that continues to happen, that's going to shuffle people to Donald Trump, because we can't forget that he is now unbanned from Twitter. He's going to start tweeting. He is going to be on a marketing, just bomb everyone with marketing, even more than we've ever seen. And what are the Republicans really going to do about it? So I think that his showmanship is really going to be his strongest asset in the 2024 Republican primaries.
Absolutely, Jack. I agree with you. And Donald Trump is a street fighter. And none of them are really ready for what this man is going to unleash. I mean, we did get a preview in 2016. He's just gonna double and quadruple down on what he does best. You know, that skill set that he does best. But the unfortunate thing about that skill set is he uses it in such nefarious ways. When he was president of the United States of America, he had the opportunity to check the rail industry, but he did none of that. He lightened up on the rules. Brothers and sisters, family and friends in East Palestine. Now I want you to hear this. Now I know the man came down there, and unfortunately the Democrats didn't come. The president of the United States did not come. The secretary said he'd get there when he get there, and that's unfortunate. But don't fall for the okie doke. Okay, do not fall for the banana in the tailpipe of Trump Force One. All right, now on Boss, we call them all out, Republicans and Democrats, when they ain't standing up for the people. And in this case, Donald J. Trump, the former president of the United States of America, is selling y'all a bag of goods. So please don't fall for the banana in this man's tailpipe of Trump Force One. Don't do it. And for the love of God, don't listen to Donnie Jr. Don't listen to little Donald. He definitely don't know what the hell he doing. So you guys know that I was there yesterday on the ground in East Palestine, and I spoke with residents, including John Russell, who said this about Trump's visit. Take a look at this.
One of the really bad things about the president coming here is in the residents here. I mean, we're standing in a county right now that gave 79% of the vote to Donald Trump in the election. But when I showed up to the town hall, which Norfolk Southern canceled on, did not come to.
Cowards.
That's correct. I talked to a lot of residents, some who openly admitted and said, you know, I support the former president, but they had a lot of rage at this company, as they should, I think.
Yeah, they should have a lot of rage. There's no doubt about it. And really what these people are doing, he is asking. These people are asking for some help. They want somebody to help them. And so nature abhors a vacuum. That's just what it is. And it could be Donald J. Trump or Satan himself or herself. Anybody that's gonna fill that void, that's who people are gonna lean on, especially when they are under this type of pressure. You heard from the residents, you've read some of the articles. We've been reporting on this for quite some time. And I saw with my own eyes and I felt the pressure that people were feeling. I was able to come in and come out. Imagine people who have to live there every single day. And you know, my stunt double has been very active. She's talked about this. And the one thing that I've been outspoken about, the 2 years the Biden administration had to fix these problems. They could have fixed this before. The rail workers actually warned them that this would happen. And the Trump administration is at fault, as is the Obama administration. So over all those administrations, the Ohio GOP is to blame as well. So ain't nobody got clean hands. Failure at every level of government and multiple administrations led to this moment that we are in right now. It is totally, totally ridiculous. So we will definitely hold on to this story. We're gonna keep reporting it. And I'm just really just not happy about this. And none of us should be happy about what is going on in East Palestine and also in the western parts of Pennsylvania. Now, speaking of President Donald J. Trump, let the presidential games begin.
Limits for Congress. And mandatory mental competency tests for politicians over 75 years old.
Now, I know this chick didn't come with the ageism. Cause see, there are only two choices in life. Now I want somebody to straighten me out if I'm wrong, but it's either to die young or live to be seasoned and then extra seasoned. I mean, them the only two choices, cause ain't nobody getting out of here alive. Nature gonna take its course. So I'm not quite sure why she made that comment, because she wouldn't want somebody to make a comment about her gender. But there she is, being an ageist. Now, sister and brother, we talk about racism, we talk about sexism, we need to talk about ageism, because today's 5-year-old is tomorrow's 50-year-old or 70-year-old if they blessed to live long enough. See, we need to understand that those are the things that we all got in common as human beings, and it doesn't matter how poor you are, how wealthy you are, okay? Either you die young or you get seasoned and extra seasoned. See, it's crispy and extra crispy. Those are the choices. I mean, Jackson, am I right or am I wrong about that?
Well, you know, I'm 31 years old now. I'm not quite crispy yet. You know what I'm saying?
No, you ain't crispy but you know what I mean.
Yeah, but what I was saying that to say that I've lived long enough to have some life to look back on. And so I understand that, getting older is a beautiful thing, especially if you're able to take care of yourself, if you're able to stay relatively healthy, what you're able to learn, what you're able to experience, and then therefore what you're able to give back to the rest of humanity can only come if you, get crispy and then hopefully
extra crispy.
Oh, yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, the nerve of her. Just the nerve.
Well,
all up in arms with what Don Lemon said the other day, and then this chick sit up here and make some ageist comments.
Well, what's funny to me is it's like that's literally is hardcore as her criticism of Donald Trump is going to go, because she'll be able to say like, oh, no, I'm talking about Joe Biden, but obviously Biden and Trump are basically the same age. But it's like it's like hey,
his UN, because I'm all right. She was his UN secretary. She said she wasn't gonna run if he ran, but I guess she changed her mind. So what you just heard was the newly announced Republican contender Nikki Haley announcing her 2024 campaign, also calling for term limits on Congress and the cognitive test for politicians over 75. Now this is causing a bit of drama because, as Jackson and I just explained, Donald J. Trump is a brawler, he's a brawler. So the remarks are an undeniable strike against her only declared opponent, 76-year-old extra crispy Donald J. Trump. It's all right.
I'm never gonna get this out of my head now. You just put new vernacular in my brain.
New vernacular. I mean, my main point is like die young or become seasoned or extra seasoned, crispy, extra crispy. But Nikki doubled down and added, we're ready to move past the stale ideas and the faded names of the past. And we are more than ready for a new generation to lead us into the future. America is not past our prime. It's just our politicians are past theirs. Again, Nikki Haley said that. Now, they jumped all over Don Lemon. Right, you see this? Now, I'm not even saying that I agree with Don on that, because measuring a woman's prime based on whether or not she can still produce a child, that's offensive as hell. But this chick gets to talk about prime on the ageist side. Ain't nobody saying nothing, calling her out and trying to cancel her behind. We got all kinds of different types of rules. But anyway, let me move on past that. Now the fight has begun. Let's put up what President Donald J. Trump had to say. Anybody running for the office of President of the United States should agree to take a full and complete mental competency test simultaneously or before with the announcement that he or she is running. And likewise, but to a somewhat lesser extent, agree to a test which would prove that you are physically capable of doing the job. Being an outstanding president requires great mental acuity and physical stamina. If you don't have these qualities or traits, it is likely you won't succeed. MAGA, exclamation point. And he let know, hey Jackson, he's like, you wanna play games? Okay, we're gonna play some games.
Showmanship, like you said, that's exactly what it is. If anybody do anything, here he comes, and as long as people are watching them, that's gonna carry people to the vote.
Because what you say, he a megalomaniac, he's a narcissist. I mean, it's feeding into him. She can't handle this. Mm-hmm. But this isn't the first time that Trump has gone after Nikki, but this time Nikki went after him. So let me just put that out there. Even before she threw her hat into the 2024 Republican primary, let's take a look at this from President Donald J. Trump. The greatest thing Nikki Haley did for our country and the great state of South Carolina was accepting the position of United Nations ambassador so that the incredible then Lieutenant Governor Henry McMaster could be governor of South Carolina, where he has done an absolutely fantastic job. That was a big reason why I appointed Nikki to the position. It was a favor to the people I love in South Carolina. And
man,
you got to go. Boo, you gone, you out of here.
And what is Ron DeSantis gonna do with that? Like, come on, man. What is Ron DeSantis gonna do with that? Nothing. He's gonna look like he's not that guy. That's what he's gonna look like.
Oh yeah, the sanctimonious is gonna get creamed.
Yeah.
Put up this from the former president. Nikki Haley had a hard time making the decision to run for president. I can't. Because she very publicly stated that she would never run against the president. He did a great job and was the best president in my lifetime. So he quoting the chick. I told Nikki to follow her heart. Follow your heart, boo. Not her ambition or belief. Who knows? Stranger things have happened. She's polling at 1%.
And wait till he starts doing this on Twitter. Like, wait till he starts doing this on Twitter. There's no, like, he's absolutely coming back to it. And man, and two, I really think that he's going to be even more just like, so what, than ever before. Because, I mean, he's never going to run for president again after this.
And Jackson, you are right. I mean, the way he has nothing to lose. Nothing. So when you going up against a man or a woman who has nothing to lose, baby, and this is what this man does for sport. You know what I'm saying? Oh, yeah. She ain't ready. They ain't ready. I mean, they just ain't ready. They ain't ready for him. Oh, yeah, let the games begin. We are definitely going to stay with this. Nikki, you opened this Pandora box, baby. You wanted it and you got it. And let me give you a word of advice. And this is advice to anybody, okay? Your 20-year-old, your 30, 40, 50 is tomorrow's 80 and 90-year-old if you're blessed to live long enough. So one of the isms none of us should be dipping into is the ageism category. Nikki, don't do it. Because you did it and then you want to talk about sexism. You can't have it both ways. Don't mess with the extra crispy folks. Leave them alone, because hopefully one day you'll be extra crispy too. All right, on to the continuing civil war within the Republican Party. Hannity is on board with that woman, Marjorie Taylor Greene, that chick, when it comes to a national divorce. Take a look.
For a national divorce after facing backlash from Democrats and some Republicans, Greene followed up with a detailed thread explaining why she thinks this is a good idea. Greene is saying that a national divorce would empower individual states to form a smaller government, reduce the federal debt. And the Congresswoman has another idea as well, banning people who move from blue states to red states from voting for 5 years so they don't bring their bad politics with them. I actually favor that idea.
Lord, have mercy on all my souls. Okay, because I got more than one. We have been down this road before, America. We ain't trying to go back again. That was Sean Hannity just saying, hey, he agreed with her about separating the union. It was tried before. It was called the Civil War. And as a reminder, here's a tweet from this woman. Let's put it up. We need a national divorce. We need to separate by red and blue states and shrink the federal government. Everyone I talk to says this. She ain't talking to enough people. From the sick and disgusting woke culture issues shoved down our throats to the Democrats' treacherous America's last policies, we are done. And do you know who else argued for states' rights? Oh, that's right. The flipping Confederacy. Can we put the Confederate flag up? And they lost. So why is this chick trying to take us back down a horrible, and can I just say horrible one more good time, memory lane in this country? Oh yeah, the Confederacy argued this very, very point. Jackson, I know we gotta wrap this up, but I just feel like people like her and Hannity have really lost their ever-loving minds.
Well, and we can't forget that this type of rhetoric actually leads to policy implementation. I mean, just look at all the hatred rhetoric towards the transgender community and how that's led to many red states looking to be like, we're going to ban drag shows and things like that. And the reversal of Roe v. Wade based on decades of rhetoric when Roe v. Wade was put into place. So, these types of things definitely have consequences, at least in radicalizing enough of the nation to keep this nation destabilized.
Yeah, I mean, she really playing and tapping into fears and all kinds of delusions in this country about race in some of the worst ways ever. And she knows exactly what she's doing. Hannity knows exactly what he is doing. They're stoking fear, stoking flames, very similar to the environment this country was in at the dawn of the dawn of the Civil War in this country, trying to make it seem like so many people, like white people, are being put upon in this country, red states, and knowing that good and daggone well that the Republican Party will not do anything to stand up for any working class person or any poor person, be they black or white or Hispanic or any other race and ethnicity in this country. They don't give a damn. Working class people from all backgrounds need to unite. Hannity and Marjorie Taylor Greene are made for one another. But please, America, Georgia, please. Okay, you're gonna have another opportunity. Y'all need to go and send this woman on home, because she should not be in the House of Representatives trying to take us back in time, siding with the damn Confederacy. Anyway, that's your girl, Georgia. Y'all need to come and get her. We'll be right back after this.
Hey everyone, Matteo Scarapore here, author of Black Buck, which is Shop TYT's first fiction book ever. I'm honored. So, Black Buck is about a young man named Darren who's living in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. He lives with his mom, he has his girlfriend, he has his best friend, he has his neighborhood, and his neighborhood has him. Darren's also working at a Starbucks in Midtown Manhattan. And one day, this man, real suave and good looking, comes in and asks Darren to give him his regular. But for some reason, Darren says no. This man named Rhett Daniels, who's the CEO of a startup called Someone, located on the 36th floor of the same building, is impressed. And he invites Darren upstairs, and then he extends an offer to join his elite sales team. Darren reluctantly joins, and he soon realizes that he's not the only Black salesperson there. He's the only Black person in the entire company. So he goes through hell and back in order to make it to the top. And once there, he has status, money, power, but he says, you know what? I don't like being the token Black guy. So he hatches a plan to help other people of color infiltrate America's tech startup sales teams, redefining what it means to be a minority in the workplace. This book definitely, if you couldn't tell, touches on many things that are relevant to this moment that we're all living in right now, but it's also connected to the many moments in history that have come before today. I hope that you read it. I hope that you enjoy it. And if you want to order a copy, go to shoptyt.com. Thank you, be well, and happy 2021.
Breaking news with Brett Ehrlich. This is Brett Ehrlich with Breaking News with Brett Ehrlich. Bernie Sanders wants to break Wall Street, and he wants to break it real bad.
Here at the Young Turks, we do our best to bring you the most essential news stories of the day, but we can't cover everything in a 2-hour show. And for the rest, I recommend Ground News. Founded by a former NASA scientist, Ground News uses a revolutionary system that analyzes where the news is coming from and gives you complete transparency on the potential biases these sources may have. That way, you can read between the lines of media bias and break free from the corporate media agenda. In arming you with the context and transparency, you'll have everything you need to think critically about the news and build responsible media literacy for yourself and others. With Ground News, you're not just mindlessly consuming the media, you're part of a movement that is working to hold them accountable and get straight to the facts. Break through the filter bubbles, the propaganda, and the bias, and subscribe to Ground News today.
I don't care if you're Christian. In fact, I will fight for you to have your religious liberty and practice your Christianity. I believe in that. I don't believe in Christianity, which means that you do not get to dictate the way I live my life based on your religion. I don't care what the Bible says. You have every right in the world. All those women who identify with your religion have every right in the world to not get an abortion, to not take birth control, but they do not have the right to dictate my life and what I decide to do with my body. I don't care about your goddamn religion. I'm so tired of having nonstop conversations about what the Bible says. You live your life in the way that you interpret the Bible. Again, I don't care, but you don't get to take the Bible and tell me, well, the Bible says this in this chapter, in this verse. I don't care. I don't care, I don't believe in it, and I have the right, based on our Constitution, to not believe in it.
And welcome back to the show. So glad you're here. And I am on to my favorite part. Starting with TYT members, Biden flavor corn pop. Hey, Biden flavor corn pop, you know I love your handle so much. I am so angry about this train disaster, and the execs are so unrepentant, unwilling to help the humanity. You are so right about that. They unrepentant, they not gonna repent. And they're gonna get a slap on the wrist. It will be definitely the cost of doing business if we don't keep the pressure up on these people. Norfolk, they should bounce. Okay, the company should bounce so that they never do anything like this to any other community. On Twitch, Overseer Dixon. Hey, Overseer Dixon. Oh, Jackson and Nina, not on Laundry Day. Oh, I wish Jackson was still here to hear this. Can't wait to see what awaits us today. Thank you, Overseer Dixon. And MIWA. Nina, I am so glad that you are speaking loudly and openly about East Palestine, because as someone affected by it, oh, thank you. I am struggling not to cry because it's so stressful. Oh my God. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. And you daggone right, on this show, we will continue to highlight this. I was there yesterday. I'm gonna be bringing John Russell, who was my guide. He'll be up next. We were there, and we're gonna continue to talk about this story and continue to lift. And it is not just a prayer, but we're gonna continue to put as much pressure as we can to get you and the other residents of East Palestine the help that you need and you deserve, both in the short term and the long term. Because there are short-term remedies and there are long-term remedies that go well beyond 10 or 20 years from now. You bet your bottom dollar that. But thank you so much for watching. And YouTube super chat, Snack Panther. Hey, Snack Panther, Turner and White, not a cop show, but sounds like it. LOL, love y'all, have a great show. Oh, I love that so very much. And Hoover, Transportation Secretary. Hey, Hoover, Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg transporting from one failure to another. You got that right, Hoover. You done summed that all the way up. Oh my goodness. So, you know, guys, I haven't done a bone in a very long time. So let me get this bone in today. This is going to be about the one and only civil rights leader and fighter for the people, Ella Baker. Take a look at this.
Friends, brothers, and sisters in the struggle for human dignity and freedom, I am here to represent the struggle that has gone on for 300 or more years, a struggle to be recognized as citizens in a country in which we were born. I have had about 40 or 50 years of struggle, ever since a little boy on the streets of Norfolk called me a nigger. I struck him back.
Yeah, she struck him back. She said ever since, called her the N-word. You heard her, we tried to bleep it a little bit, but that was the reality for many blacks, far too many blacks, most blacks of Ella Baker's generation. Her grandmother was a slave and had been whipped for refusing to marry the man that her slave owner wanted her to marry, her enslaved grandmother. This woman comes from a long line, Ella Baker, of fighters, and she was very prominent in the movement, believing that strong people don't need just one leader. It was a big proponent of organizing. Take a look at this.
I had to learn that hitting back with my fist one individual was not enough. It takes organization. It takes dedication. It takes the willingness to stand by and do what has to be done when it has to be done.
Doing what needs to be done when it has to be done. Organization. And let's put up this quote from Ella Baker. Remember, we are not fighting for freedom of the Negro alone, but for the freedom of the human spirit, a larger freedom that encompasses all mankind. Ella Baker, civil rights leader, freedom fighter, and an organizer in all of her glory. We will revisit her again. I had to go quickly through that, but man, I love me some Ella Baker, and all the true freedom fighters of that generation really do. And you know what? She attended at Shaw University in Raleigh, North Carolina. She was born on December 13th in 1903. She actually died on December 13th as well. Can you imagine that? She stood up, she helped young people. She really did believe in the power of young people to organize. And again, she did not believe in big eyes and little youth. And she made that very known. Her and Fannie Lou Hamer actually worked together too in this movement. Some really, really incredible women who made some great sacrifices. So love, love, love Ella Baker and her spirit. And we need to talk about her a lot more. If you are just being introduced to Ella Baker, I encourage you to dig a little deeper and look at all the great work that she did during the civil rights movement. Speaking of movements, we got a movement afoot right now all over this country of workers and poor people coming together. And we have a movement right here in Ohio of people standing up and speaking out about what is happening, particularly in East Palestine. Take a look at this.
The last time that I was here, I talked with a woman who was probably, mid-50s, raising a grandchild, less than half a mile away from the crash, who told me she was making $13.50 an hour, and that is not uncommon.
I have with me that gentleman who, as I said, was my guide. East Palestine, Ohio yesterday, and that's none other than activist, writer, social media journalist himself, John Russell. John, how are you today?
I'm doing well, Senator Turner. We're coming live from the McDonald's in East Palestine, where we're doing a little coverage today.
Yeah, that's your satellite office, that McDonald's.
That's the satellite office, yep.
I totally understand. And like my best to Jess too. I don't know if she's sitting next to you, but I just want to thank you.
She says hi.
Across from you. I just want to thank you and Jess so much for being our guide yesterday. I know that it was an emotional. You've been covering this from the beginning. You grew up not far from East Palestine, so this is very much a part of your greater community. And it was such an honor to be there with you and to get a chance to vibe a little bit and be on the ground to feel in real time and not just read about or watch on television what was happening to the people in your community. Now, I want to start off with something that is not directly related, but maybe indirectly related. You were wearing a jacket yesterday, a jean jacket, IBEW jacket, I think. Is there anything significant about that jacket? I know unions. I mean, that's what came to mind at first, but tell us.
Of course, I was in IBEW union as a member of the Warren campaign. The Warren and Sanders campaign were two of the ones that were leading the way of unionizing campaign workers. And this jacket's also a nice way to say to the folks here where I grew up and where we're covering, that what side we're on, because that's what it is about. It's about which side you are on, and that's really the central issue in East Palestine.
Yeah, it is. What side you're on? I remember when one of the ladies asked me, "Well, what are you?" She meant in terms of my political affiliation. And when I said Democrat, she was not really happy, even though, she was cool about it, but I could tell her whole energy changed. And when I told her I ain't one of those, I'm one of these. I'm somebody that believes in working people all over this country, don't matter their political affiliation. And it really hurts me, John, to my core, because you got a lot of neoliberal types judging the people of East Palestine, even to go as far as saying they deserve what they got because of who they vote for. You laid out that over 70% of the voters there did vote for the Republican, but I think it is repulsive for anybody. I don't care who the hell they are, for anybody to say that any group of people deserves tragedy because of their decision to be free thinkers, to have choice, because that's what we say we believe in the United States of America, unless you ain't making the choice I want you to make. But it is repugnant for anybody to say that a certain group of people get what they deserve just because of who they voted for. But speaking of voting for President Donald J. Trump, he was there today. Tell us what happened.
Well, yeah, in this very McDonald's, he was here. And what happened was not a lot. He came here, it was exciting. But ultimately, did he help out a situation here? No. It's about holding Norfolk Southern accountable. It's about standing up for working class communities. And when Donald Trump comes here, he is helping working class people in name only. I mean, this is,
kind of a dog and pony show that he's been able to do. But in terms of holding the most powerful people's feet to the fire, I have yet to see that from the former president.
And it was under his watch that the rules were softened for the rail industry, even though on that point, John, there's a lot of talk, and I know we don't have much time, but we're gonna have you on over and over again to give us updates. But there, people are focusing in on the brakes, and rightfully so. We know that these the railroads, the trains are using braking systems from the Civil War. But you have another thought about what may be part of the problem here, and it's not just the braking system.
Yeah, I want to make sure that people know to focus not only on the braking system and the classification of hazardous chemicals on these trains. Had those regulations been in place, this was would have been likely less bad than it was. But I do a lot of reporting, talking to rail workers directly, and I think that's a secondary concern. What we should really focus on here is the corporate practice of precision scheduled railroad that's been adopted by every major carrier. This is a practice that cuts the important things to save money: less staff, training, maintenance, inspections, longer trains, less downtime. This is the practice. Now, what happened on this derailment? It appears that a wheel bearing overheated and caught fire and derailed this train. And I think there's a direct connection. We'll find out in the NTSB report for sure, to this wheel bearing failing catastrophically. And to the cuts to maintenance time and inspection time on rail cars that might have caught this and prevented this. To explode profit as much as possible, these companies have forced workers to cut the inspection time on cars from 3 minutes to 90 seconds. They've cut the staff that monitors problems as they occur on trains down so that one person might be doing the work of 5 people monitoring more trains over more territory. The corporate profit-seeking practices here have to be the focus for the apparent wheel bearing that derailed this train. I think it's got to be squarely on extreme profiteering and the price that we pay for all of that.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, John. We are going to have you back, folks. You heard it here on Unbossed. John Russell and to Jess, thank you so much for hosting Unbossed in East Palestine yesterday. And we're going to stay in touch with you and have you come back and give us updates. And that is our time today on Unbossed. This was a rip-roaring show. And guess what? I didn't even have to bring out the fire extinguisher today. I kept cool, calm, and collected for the most part. I want to thank you all for your support of this show and the support of our network. Now, you know what I want you to do about this time? I want you to keep the faith always, no matter what is going on, and also keep the fight. Until next time.